Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services
at 800-600-1645. That's 800-600-1645. 800-600-1645.
The Blaze Radio Network. On demand.
Love. Courage. Truth. Glenn Beck.
It's Pat Gray for Glenn on the Glenn Beck program. And Jeffy here as well this morning. An awful lot to talk about today. The NFL had their meeting yesterday. Talked to the owners and a bunch of the players got together, and apparently they decided nothing. Got a lot resolved. So it's just gonna
got a lot resolved.
Yeah. Oh, not really.
No.
Zero. A lot. If nothing is a lot to you, then
that's what they got resolved.
That's what they got resolved. So now the NBA has opened up. The opening night was last night, and the Cleveland Cavaliers. They stood for the national anthem, but they all locked arms in solidarity or unity or whatever that means.
Well, that's okay.
It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. I'm tired of it. I'm just tired of the whole thing, and I really wish it would stop, but it's not going to. Now that the NBA is involved in this too, when spring baseball opens next year. Is it going to be all of baseball as well?
We probably shouldn't say anything because if they're still standing, so dear NBA, if you're just locking arms and standing, you're still showing respect.
Right.
You're not taking a knee.
Right.
So that still works. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, LeBron also wore shoes that said equality on the back. He had it like sewn into the back of his shoes.
And the NBA allows that.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he's going to get fined or not. He said, I will in my voice, I will in my passion, I will in my money, I will in my resources to my youth and my inner city and outside my inner city to let these kids know that there is hope. There is greater walks of life, and not one individual, no matter if it's the president of the United States, can stop your dreams from becoming a reality. Got news for you, LeBron. The president of the United States is not trying to stop your kids.
No one has.
From LeBron? Experiencing whatever they want to experience. So
it's coming from a guy that went directly to the NBA from high school.
Right.
Millions of dollars from high school. The American dream
right.
really kicked you in the rear, didn't it, LeBron?
Yes. Yeah, and he only makes, what, $30 million a year?
I mean, I don't know what kind of donuts you can buy with $30 million, but not much. Not much.
Apparently you can have the word equality sewn into the back of your shoes when you make $30 million a year. That's something.
That's kind of nice.
That's something. So the NBA, I'm sure, will kick this into high gear. Meanwhile, the Jacksonville Jaguars have apologized to local Jacksonville military leaders for demonstrating during the national anthem in London last month. Jaguars president Mark Lamping sent a letter to the director of military affairs and veterans in Jacksonville saying the team was, quote, remiss in not fully comprehending the effect of the national anthem demonstration on foreign soil has had on the men and women who have or continue to serve our country. Exactly right, because they took a knee, many of the Jaguars took a knee during the Star-Spangled Banner, during the U.S. national anthem. Then they stood for God Save the Queen in the country that instituted slavery in the Western Hemisphere. I mean, come on. He said this was an oversight and certainly not intended to send a message that would disparage you, our flag, or our nation. So, I mean, that's nice that they
came back around.
Yeah. The day after the game in London, some called it stupid for them to stand for the anthem, even though such acts are protected by the U.S. Constitution. He said, this was one of the players saying, I stand and cover my heart for the pledge and the anthem. I think it's stupid to do otherwise. The U.S. Constitution protects the right for a lot of people to do a lot of stupid things. I'm a constitutional conservative, so I respect the wisdom of our founders, that's great. Meanwhile, not only has this spread to the NBA, it's spread to the Ann Arbor City Council meetings. 4 members.
So good.
4 members of the Ann Arbor City Council chose to kneel during the Pledge of Allegiance at a meeting last night. Chip Smith of the 5th Ward, it doesn't matter, you don't know the names anyway, but they turned toward the flag and they took a knee when it came time to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. It looks asinine.
It's dumb.
It's ridiculous.
But listen, they just wanted to take the knee and demonstrate the commitment to upholding democratic values.
Now, shut up. First of all, we're not a democracy. Secondly, it's a dumb display. Stop doing it. You don't even know why you're doing it. They don't even know what they're doing when they do it. Not. I really believe that. I really believe they don't even know why they're doing this anymore.
He's the one, Wojciechowski or whatever his name is, said, I can't speak to what is in each person's heart, but for me to take a knee is an act of attention, of concern, and of respect.
For what? About what?
Yeah, thank you.
It's ridiculous.
Now, I will say that, as a reminder, and I don't know that it means anything, but, marijuana's been legal in the city of Ann Arbor for a number of years.
So you're saying they were all stoned? Yeah, it's possible.
It's possible.
That's definitely possible. Yesterday, as he was coming out of the NFL owners meeting with some of the players, Jerry Jones was confronted by a couple of protesters. And he stopped and listened to the guy. He did. The guy was yelling at him. Started with white supremacy, and then it went downhill from there.
White supremacy, and you want to treat them like $40 million slaves.
Wait, what? Okay, Jerry Jones wants to treat these NFL football players as $40 million slaves. I got news for this bonehead. There's no such thing as a $40 million slave. There's $0 slaves, but there are
Really?
No. Yeah, just by definition, if you're making $40 million, you're not a slave. That just defeats the whole purpose of slavery right there when you're paying people for the work they do. It's such idiocy.
It's embarrassing.
It is
embarrassing.
It is embarrassing.
It's embarrassing, and it shows.
And it's
no
disrespectful.
Respect. Thank you
to people who have actually gone through it and who are going through it now.
Yes,
as we've talked about on this program a lot, there's still slavery going on today, and there are people working to free them today. So don't give me this $40 million slavery stuff.
White supremacy, and you want to treat them like $40 million slaves.
Yeah.
Gladiators are well paid to beat each other's brains out, but have to keep their mouths shut when talking about injustice.
No, they don't have to keep their mouths shut. But when you are representing my business, I am able to tell you certain things that are appropriate to do when you're representing my business, and certain things that aren't appropriate. And if you don't like those things, you stop being a $40 million slave and you go somewhere else. Try that. Go work in an accounting office, and maybe they'll let you talk all day about equality and respect.
They might.
But you won't be a $40 million slave.
No, you will not.
You'll be a $40,000 a year slave.
Maybe even a 26.5.
Right.
Look at the videos of the police getting away with murder and tell me that the players are wrong to protest it.
Maybe you should look at some of those videos. Maybe you should investigate. Obviously, this guy hasn't done any homework, because are there instances where police were wrong? Yes, of course there were, and there's going to continue to be. But there's also a lot of these things that they're talking about. A lot of these people that they mention. Michael Brown, for instance, he wasn't in the right there. The police were justified in what they did, and that's the case most of the time.
And that they have no rights to do that. People need to take a knee against white supremacy, and people need to stand up against you and your buddy Donald Trump.
That's
and
about
try
white
this
supremacy.
whole regime out, and it begins November 4th.
So what this is really about to this idiot is Donald Trump. That's what it's about. White supremacy. Where did that come from? I haven't even heard that mentioned among the NFL football players. Is it about white supremacy? Because I'm unaware of that. It's about everything now, all of a sudden. Whatever you want, it's about that. And all you have to do is say the word respect. It's about respect. You don't even have to say what you're respecting. Respect for what? Yeah, they don't care. It doesn't matter. So it's going to be interesting to see how long this lasts. Way too long for my money, but obviously it's going to continue through this NFL football season, and it'll catch fire, I'm sure, in the NBA and virtually every team. Although the Celtics last night just stood, and they didn't do any joining arms or taking a knee or spinning on their head or sitting sideways. They didn't do any of that stuff. They just stood respectfully for the national anthem, and that was it.
Perhaps they understand the financial implications.
It's possible. Yeah, perhaps they do.
I mean, I'm surprised that someone hasn't taken, I don't know that it would matter, but I'm surprised that they haven't at least taken some of the players and, the players union and looked at them with, maybe we use a Glenn Beck chalkboard and point out the look, when people stop watching, then the money doesn't come in.
Kind of dries up. Yeah. What we don't want to lose are customers. The people in the stands that you see around you are customers. The people watching on television sets all across the country are customers. And I don't want to lose my customers. So you will stand during the anthem.
Thank you.
Isn't that a reasonable discussion to have? Now, if you guys want to protest outside of work time, go ahead. Go ahead.
Absolutely.
Monday, Tuesday, if you're off, when we're not at practice, you go protest and do whatever you want.
Absolutely.
It's a free country. Do whatever you want. Go stand on street corners, take a knee in the supermarket. I don't care. I don't care. But isn't that it's totally reasonable?
It's totally reasonable.
Every one of these owners, they're totally within their rights to do this. 888-727-BECK.
Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck.
Pat Grant, Jeffy for Glenn. 888-727-BECK. Keep in mind, they had this owners meeting with the players last night and yesterday afternoon. And initially, the owners were saying, and Roger Goodell was saying, we're going to ask them to stand. We want them to stand. And then they immediately backed off at the first sign of any pushback.
Yeah, well, and then they had said that, look, we're not going to accomplish anything. We're not going to make anything concrete here in these meetings. We're just here to listen. And I know, we're here to talk. And I know that there's a quote from Arthur Blank, owner of the
Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah. Look, I said to all the owners this afternoon, I thought this was one of the most open and productive meetings I've been in maybe ever.
Oh, wonderful. That's wonderful. It should be them, the players who are listening. You guys are the owners. You're the bosses. Have some giblets. Take control of your business and tell them to stop it.
But they won't.
And that's why this thing is spreading everywhere. We told you about the NBA opening night, although they just joined arms, which is not a big deal. And then the Ann Arbor City Council took a knee.
That's so good.
Last week or the week before, there was a group of cheerleaders from Kennesaw State that took a knee. And now someone else has joined in that little protest. Here's a little
State University cheerleaders taking a knee during the national anthem. Mm-hmm. Well, now the university is deciding if the mascot should face any action after he kneeled during a campus demonstration. Channel 2's Tom Jones is live at Kennesaw State University. That's where officials say they didn't approve the student to use the costume ahead of that demonstration. Tom?
And Javita Kenneth Sturkey, the student who the school chose to wear the mascot costume and represent the school, says he didn't seek permission. He says he wanted his voice to be heard, and wearing the costume was the best way to do it.
This is about First Amendment rights, is freedom of expression. And that's all this is. This was a peaceful protest.
That's not all
Kennesaw
it is.
State University Junior Kenneth Sturkey
Again,
says
you're representing
that's why he
people.
put on the school's own mascot costume known as Scrappy and took a knee during a protest on campus Monday.
See, you're on somebody else's dime here.
What is it they don't understand about that?
I don't know. I don't know. And apparently, maybe this university will have the gumption, the guts to take a stand against it. But you've got the mascot taking a knee on behalf of the cheerleaders now, who are taking a knee for the NFL players who don't know why they're taking a knee?
Nobody knows why they're taking a knee. We're just taking a knee.
So frustrating.
To show
our
disrespect.
Respect and unity. For what? For whom? 888-727 Beck. Jerry in North Carolina. Hi. Hey, Jerry. Go ahead.
Yeah. You know what? I'm sick of all this stuff. These idiots that want to disrespect the flag, disrespect the anthem. How about they stand at a casket and have somebody salute them and hand them the flag off of their father's casket? Yeah. And now, anymore, if I get out of bed and I stand up on my own 2 feet, I'm a racist. The word racist has been bandied about so much that in my mind, it's now irrelevant. Mm-hmm. My father was from Puerto Rico. My mother was a German Jew. You know what that makes me? It makes me an American. And what is wrong with these idiots? How can somebody who makes $40 million a year be oppressed?
Yeah.
Roger Goodell says, these are men of principle. What about this idiot named Cromartie who has 20 children, and this idiot doesn't even know their birthdays? What principles does this guy have? The problem with the black community in America today is the black community. There's no fathers. There's just baby daddies and thugs.
Too much of a generalization.
And these idiot women raising these damn babies, they're not teaching them anything about respect.
All right. Thanks, Jerry. A little bit fired up. And we're not going to generalize an entire race of people. Reese in South Carolina. Hi, you're on the Glenn Beck program.
Yes, sir. I'm just wondering, in a sign of equality, is LeBron going to put his money where his mouth is and share his paycheck with his fellow employees?
He says he's going to put his money where his mouth is, but we'll see. I guess that remains to be seen, right?
That's right.
We'll find out.
Louder than hashtags.
He had a word printed on the back of his tennis shoes.
Right, and there is a hashtag. So, I mean, what more can you do?
I mean, isn't that sharing?
Thanks, Reese. Tavares in North Carolina. Welcome.
Thanks. For decades, we haven't seen what the videos have actually shown up to date. And when we have kids like Tamir Rice that get murdered within 5 seconds of a police encounter, and we ask our fellow Americans, white Americans or whoever, to say, hey, just take a look. We get ridiculed for saying, hey, we're going to put it in your face now, and we're going to take a knee. And just to show you that look at what's happening, and to the caller that called before,
well,
it's not about we have a criminal element in all society.
Sure,
but they don't take an oath as civil servants. And when you see time after time on tape these civil servants get off repeatedly, there's no justice.
Well, that's not exactly right, Tavares. The people. Their police officers have been charged with murder. Some of them have gone to jail for what they've done. When it is clear that the police are in the wrong, based on what I've seen, they've been brought to justice for it. Now, in some of these other cases where nobody seems to understand that there were other circumstances that factored in, like the action of the victim in the first place, that kind of triggered the police officer's action. That goes completely ignored. And the reason people say is take a look is because an entire movement sprung up from the incident in Ferguson called Hands Up, Don't Shoot.
Yeah.
Michael Brown never said, he never put his hands up and said, don't shoot. He went running at the officer, as was testified by multiple victims. And so that's why white people and others say, take a look at some of these incidents, because not all of them are what you think they are. 888-727 Beck. Pat Gray for Glenn, along with Jeffy on the Glenn Beck program.
Glenn Beck.
Are you worried about your mom or dad living alone in their house? Hi, I'm Joan London. Listen, I know how difficult it is to find senior care for someone you love. That's why I recommend a free service called A Place for Mom. They are the nation's largest senior living referral service. Call A Place for Mom today.
To receive free information on senior living communities in your area, call A Place for Mom at 1-800-803-6951.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Hey, welcome. Glenn's taking care of some business that was unavoidable today, so it's Pat Gray. Jeffy filling in. You can also find my new show, Pat Gray Unleashed, immediately following this show on the Blaze Radio Network. That begins at 12 Eastern, 11 Central. On this NFL kneeling situation during the Pledge of Allegiance, or actually the national anthem, it was the Pledge of Allegiance last night at the Ann Arbor City Council meeting. Four of the council members took a knee. I mean, that's just embarrassing. It's one of the dumbest things I think I've ever seen. It's just, come on. Come on. But, here's the problem. We're talking at each other on this. We need to talk to each other. When people use ridiculous phrases like you're treating them like $40 million slaves, we stop listening. You've lost us there. And on the other side, I suppose, we have to acknowledge that there have been unjustified police shootings. So how do we get together and solve the problem? There's a perception within the minority communities that more cops are bad than really are, and that all of these incidents that people just rattle off the names of and say, this is for Trayvon Martin, this is for Michael Brown. Well, those were not, first of all, Trayvon Martin wasn't shot by a police officer. That was just an ordinary citizen. So how do you lump that in with the rest? When you talk about Michael Brown, the guy came running at and gave a beating to the police officer. So there's a perception among people on the right that there are a lot of protesters who don't know exactly what they're talking about. How do we interject facts into this? How do we listen to each other? What happened with the shooting in, I think was it Charleston, South Carolina, where the police officer shot the guy, the black man who was running away from him, in the back several times and killed him?
As far as I can tell, the South Carolina...
He went to trial, right? He was charged with murder.
Michael Slager, a former police officer, and
he was fired. He was
far as I can
put on trial.
He is in jail awaiting sentencing for second-degree murder.
Okay.
That was his plea deal.
So he experienced the justice system. It worked in that case. So I think that was a very unjustifiable shooting. What was the name of, it was Eric something in New York City, where he was selling cigarettes on the street.
Right?
Yes.
Eric Garner?
Yeah. And the cops came up to him and took him down and put their knee in his back, and they suffocated him. There was another terrible incident.
Yeah.
Terrible. It looked bad. It was bad. And I think they were also charged. I think they were fired and charged.
Good.
Where there are bad cops, it seems like they're coming to justice. Now, when cops are exonerated, in some cases, there's good reason for it. A jury heard out the evidence, weighed the evidence, and found in favor of the cop. I don't know what you can do about that. 888-727 Beck. Robert in Alabama. Hi, you're on the Glenn Beck program.
Hey, good morning. Thank you so very much for allowing me to respond. Just listening at the two of you gentlemen and listening at the previous guests that respond, I just want to comment on some concerns that I have. I recall in the Pledge of Allegiance something that specifically said, "One nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all," hence the words "and justice for all," in reference to the national anthem and people protesting. I support it 100%. I believe as long as it is a peaceful protest, I'm all for it. The concern I have is when my commander-in-chief refer to those gentlemen as SOBs. I think that was very distasteful I think it was out of order, and sometimes I think our president has a tendency to antagonize the situation. But when you be more objective about it, Roger Goodell, the NFL, he knows if he doesn't get a hold of this whole situation, it's going to be a loss of revenues, not only for the players, but for the owners.
It already is.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I really feel that we just need to calm down and let the guys protest. As long as it's decent and in order, I don't think it's hurting anything. I was at the Detroit Lions Saints game, and I sat next to some military people. I was on vacation and had a good conversation with them. The Saints, they kneeled prior to the national anthem, and then they stood along with the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that.
In the stadium, it was just awesome.
Yeah.
But in reference to the past two guests, people ridiculing, saying it's a sign of disrespect, it's not a sign of disrespect. They have the right to protest as long as it's in order. And I thank you for allowing me to respond.
Sure. Thanks, Robert. Sure, they have the right. But then they also have the responsibility to suffer the consequences, whatever they may be. So if the owner says stop doing it because we're losing revenue, and you just put your finger on exactly, Robert, what the problem is. There is a problem with it because they're losing revenue. As ratings go down and they continue to anger more and more fans, it's going to affect the bottom line of not just the players, but the owners.
Because whether it's true or not, it's perceived as disrespect for America.
Right. That's
whether
right.
it's true or not.
Yes.
And so when you have that perception, you got to do something to change it or have a nice day.
And in this society, you do have the right to protest, but there's certain conditions.
Well,
for instance, when you're
that.
affecting somebody's business. And that's what they're doing.
And we said, look, when you're off and we're not at practice and you want to go down on the street corner and protest, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. As long as it's, if I'm an owner, I'm telling them, yes, you are free to do whatever you want in your off time. But when you're on the playing field and you're representing this team and my business and you are in front of my customers, you got to act a certain way.
And the NFL certainly,
especially when you're being paid $10 or $15 million to do it.
Well, the NFL certainly has other limitations on what the players can wear.
Yes, they get fined.
They get fined all the time.
Anything not approved by the NFL,
right? Gone. Have a nice day. I mean, even the one big example that they use is after the police shootings here in Dallas, the Cowboys wanted to wear stickers to represent the police officers.
The
NFL said no.
Yeah, they were told no. 5 police officers were murdered, and they still couldn't do a tribute to them.
You're
sorry.
Not put that on your helmet.
Right. So it is a business.
It's maddening.
And in a business, you have to act a certain way. If your employer tells you to do something, it's a really good idea to do it. If he tells you not to do something, it's a really good idea not to do it. If you value your employment.
Right.
Now, once you've been fired and you're not making that money anymore and you're not representing his business anymore, do what you want whenever you want. Go ahead, knock yourself out.
Or if you start working someplace and you realize, I'm not happy with what you expect of me, you can go get another job.
Exactly right. It seems simple to me.
Sure does.
And
it sure does.
If the
and we've all
owner,
had jobs that we quit.
Yes.
For one reason or another, whatever reason that is. You have the job, you have the employment, and you realize, look, it's either better across the street or I don't want to do what this job asks of me. I'm going to go do something else.
And it seems like the Saints have a pretty good system where they kneel before the anthem, and then to show respect for the anthem and song, the military people serving, they stand.
Amen.
I think that's great.
I do too.
If your owner's cool with that, keep doing it. If not, maybe you stop. It's not that hard.
No, it's not. And it changes the perception.
Yes. And you do have the constitutional right to do. Again, it's not about that. Because you also have certain responsibilities to keep your job. You don't have the right to do whatever you please in the confines of your job. Changes things a little bit.
Sure does.
There's certain things I can't say right now. Well, what about my First Amendment rights? I can't scream the F word over and over if I want. Well, yes, I could.
You could.
And then I wouldn't be back for the next break. So we make certain concessions in this society. to be a civilized
people. If that happens, I'm taking a knee. Okay?
If I got fired for screaming the F word?
I'm taking a knee.
I appreciate that, Jeffy.
I
That's
won't
beautiful.
stand for it, Pat.
That is beautiful. Thank you. George in Pennsylvania. Hi, you're on the Glenn Beck program.
Hey, Pat.
Hey.
How you doing?
Doing good.
Hey, I think these guys that are taking a knee and everything, they should stop the national anthem music at that point in time and said, okay, everybody's on their knees. Let's pray. Let's pray for the nation, and let's pray for the people that serve this nation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think they'd have a problem with that because then you're messing with their protest. I don't think that makes anybody happy either. Thanks, George. Well, yeah, but I mean, you can't make everybody happy in this situation. You just can't. I think it's pretty well impossible. And again, we're so split. We're so divided right now. We're at each other's throats continually. So it makes reaching some sort of consensus on any of these issues pretty tough. Sean in Pennsylvania. Hi, you're on the Glenn Beck program. Sean
Hello?
in Pennsylvania. Line 11.
Hello?
Hang on, Ross. We'll come right back to you. Hey, Sean.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Good. Thanks for taking my call. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay, I just want to make a couple of points. The first one is, let's get to the heart of the matter, which is this is the progressive left trying to destroy the NFL. And if you remember, going back way before Hands Up, Don't Shoot, which was probably about 4 or 5 years ago, when the linebacker of the Steelers, James Harrison, did a cover shoot for a gun magazine. Right after that, the Steelers cut him loose. And then the following Super Bowl, Daniel Defense tried to get sponsor time for a commercial during the Super Bowl. Goodell wouldn't let it happen. Okay, so after that, he said he's not going to let a pro-gun ad play during the Super Bowl. So right there was a major red flag on the progressive left by design trying to tear it apart. So when you fast forward up till now, knowing that the NFLPA is exchanging money with Soros for his political organizations, this is all by design. This is not because of some Hands Up, Don't Shoot protest or Black Lives Matter. I mean, it's included with it, but it's not separate. So, I mean, this is not something that is just, organic or, that just came about. This happened at least 4 or 5 years ago, but has come to full fruition thanks to Barack Obama.
Yeah, and
that's all I have.
Thanks, Sean. The George Soros angle is something we haven't talked about much because he is behind some of this.
Yes, he is.
And when you consider that, it's just a little less grassroots than you might think.
Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck.
Pat Gray and Jeffy for Glenn. Some good news, though, today. There's some good news.
Really?
Yeah. ISIS has been completely driven out by U.S.-backed forces, completely driven out of Raqqa, Syria, which they have kind of set up as the capital of their movement or their, pseudo-state.
That is good news.
Really good news. This is where ISIS staged big euphoric parades after they had a bunch of victories in a row in 2014, and this was when Iraq's army was running away from them. You remember all that? And Syria was a mess, and they put up no fight. Well, now it's to the point where they were all about the glory of this movement. Now it seems like they're struggling to get recruits, fortunately. People are leaving the movement, and the ones who are staying and fighting are being killed, which is really good news. Some other good news. This is pretty amazing if it turns out to be what they say it has potential to be. They've developed, a scientist named Ronald Evans has been working on a fat-burning pill.
Wait, what?
I remember talking, and now I got your attention, right? It supposedly, the one he developed in like 2007, so it's been 10 years since he initially developed it. It worked on mice to the extent that they lost weight and and they were in such good shape. It was like they'd been working out. It's almost like a workout pill. And so he said at the time, it's not ready for humans yet.
Right.
We got to test this for a while.
Right.
Well,
which they were doing.
China reverse engineers these things, and they come up with some sort of powder and start selling it. Athletes are buying it because they hear how great it works.
Right.
Ronald Evans is saying, wait, hold it. Yeah, there's a reason I said this isn't for human consumption yet. This can cause cancer, and it has in certain people. So now, 10 years later, though, he thinks he's got it to the point where it's not harmful to humans, and it burns fat, and it changes your body's metabolism to where your body thinks it's been working out and responds accordingly.
I'm in.
Who isn't? This would be the best-selling pill in the history of the world, I'm guessing. Can you imagine if you can burn fat with a pill? Oh, count us all in.
Could I imagine?
On that?
Yes. Yes, I can.
About time. 888-727-BECK. Pat Gray for Glenn.
Glenn Beck. Love, courage, truth. Glenn Beck.
Pat Gray for Glenn, along with Jeffy today. 888-727-BECK for your comments, questions, concerns. We were talking last hour about the NFL, the NBA taking a knee. One player so far in baseball has done it, I think. But the Ann Arbor City Council joined in the fun last night, which is exciting to see.
They were good. It made me think about it.
Cheerleaders and the mascot at Kennesaw State. And I believe, isn't that in Georgia? So we've got that fun topic. I don't think that's going away anytime soon. That's going to be a continual thorn in our side.
I know.
As is this sexual harassment thing, which is just burning down Hollywood. California's on fire in more ways than one.
You aren't lying.
Harvey Weinstein got himself out of town because he's going to be brought up on some criminal charges now, and he's in a lot of trouble. Bob Weinstein said that, and he's talked to numerous people and done numerous interviews since his brother's escapades were revealed. And he said, you know, he deserved it. He needed to go. He's a dirtbag.
Right.
We finally got him purged from our company, the Weinstein Company. Well, now, Bob Weinstein is also caught up in this.
Wait, what?
But listen to this. Listen to this. You tell me now. Female showrunner. I don't know what a showrunner is. Maybe it's just somebody who delivers messages to people or goes and gets coffee, donuts. It's the head of a series?
Yeah, yes. It's
a showrunner.
They do a little bit more than get coffee, but I like the go get
they're
coffee
important.
thing.
Are they like...
Yes.
They're like a writer. So the female showrunner who worked on the Weinstein drama, The Mist. Now, that's a show that's been broadcast, so you've obviously seen it, Jeffy.
The Mist?
Yeah. Have you not seen that?
I don't think I've seen
So
The
there's
Mist.
something that's been on television that you have not seen.
Well, no, just hold on, because I may have seen the preview and not moved on.
Okay.
Some of those shows I see the previews of,
yeah,
and then it's like,
not interested.
Yeah.
Anyway, she has accused Bob Weinstein of sexual harassment during the production of the TV series. Her name's Amanda Siegel. She's an executive producer of Mist. She said Bob Weinstein, not Harvey, Bob Weinstein repeatedly made romantic overtures to her. And get this, it doesn't stop there. There's more to his heinousness. He actually asked her to go to dinner with him.
What?
He asked her to go to dinner? Why hasn't this man? I mean, you go directly to prison.
Absolutely.
There's no trial. Don't collect
go.
$200. Nothing. In fact, maybe we surgically sew your mouth shut just so you can't ask anybody else out to dinner. This is come on now. Is it really that bad where you can't ask a woman to dinner and She says no, and okay. So you ask her again, because you think, well, maybe my persistence will pay off.
I kind of like the showrunner. She looks pretty.
Yeah.
I want to go out to dinner with her. I want to get to know her.
You sure you wouldn't like to go to dinner? I'm talking steak, lobster, that macaroni and cheese with the little bacon slices in it, whatever you want. You can order it. No. Okay. So a week later, you ask her again. Hey, would you like to see a movie maybe? Or
macaroni and cheese with crab in it.
I guess that's now sexual harassment. Now, I know a lot of people, a lot of men who were told no by a female on the first attempt, but they stuck to it, asked again, and maybe were told no again, asked a third time, and maybe she finally said yes. I
don't know how many times I've said no, and I finally came around to saying yes in my life.
To drugs, are we talking about? Because certainly not women. There's been no women asking you to do anything with them. The harassment began, she says, in the summer of 2016, continued on and off for about 3 months.
Oh my gosh!
Until Siegel's lawyer informed the Weinstein executives, including the COO David Glasser, that she would leave the show if he didn't stop contacting her on personal matters. She says no should be enough. After no, anybody who has asked you out should just move on. So she admits he's just asking her out. He's asking her out on a date, and then he's being persistent about it. Is that obnoxious? Yeah, I suppose, but it's not sexual harassment.
No, it is not.
Is it? Are we wrong on this?
This is exactly, something happened similar to this not too long ago. I've been trying to remember who it was, but someone else tried to claim that this was some sort of
It was an interpersonal exchange between a man and a woman.
Yes.
Which used to be completely fine, totally normal, and if it's unwanted, you just say no. I don't want to.
I told you no.
And then you tell them no again.
Bye.
And you move on with your life. And then if he asks a third time and you still don't want to, just tell him no. Is it really, damaging your emotional psyche?
I guess so.
I don't know. She says Bob kept referring to me that he wanted to have a friendship. He didn't want a friendship. He wanted more than that. My hope is that no is enough from now on.
So you knew that by his asking to go out to some sort of eating establishment, that he wanted more than a friendship. Okay. The Mist is the Stephen King story from the Stephen King, and it was the TV show from that. That's why I'm not watching.
Okay.
I'm not watching it.
Actually, apparently, they did have dinner at one point. Bob Weinstein had dinner with Ms. Siegel in L.A. in June 2016.
Forced?
He denies any claims that he behaved inappropriately at or after the dinner. It's most unfortunate that any such claim has been made. Now, that's according to his lawyer, obviously, so that they're going to be defending him. But I think he's got some solid footing here. He just asked her for a date repeatedly. If that's sexual harassment, there's a lot of people that are going to go to jail.
Yes.
A lot of people.
The problem that our friend Bob has is being the brother to Harvey.
And he's in this current environment.
Yes.
Where
that's a close call with Harvey. You're right there shoulder to shoulder with Harvey.
Yeah, right. If we're to the point where men can't ask women out,
no, we're not.
That's crazy. That's just crazy. If you can't be attracted to somebody and say, "Hey, I'd like to spend some time with you," no, okay,
but you can swipe right on Tinder and meet him within an hour.
Yes,
it's unbelievable.
But in person,
no.
Apparently,
no.
There's nothing you can do as far as interaction with a woman. And maybe at work it's not a good idea, but it's not illegal. It's just we've gotten so carried away with all of this stuff. It's pretty hard to believe. It is. Heaven forbid he asked her out on a date. Oh no. Can we get her counseling?
I said no more than once.
Does she need to go to a hospital now?
Yes.
Can we get her some emergency treatment? Sheesh. Amazing. 888-727-BECK, 888-727-BECK. Donna Karen is also trying to make up for what she said in the midst of all of this Weinstein stuff.
Good luck.
Which was, women are asking for it. Look how they dress. So you can imagine people did not appreciate that, especially women didn't appreciate it. I didn't appreciate it. It was so stupid.
Yes. She knows better. Maybe she doesn't, but I mean, she should know better.
Yesterday, she said that she's apologetic from the bottom of her heart. She's embarrassed about the stupid remark she made. Yeah, it's probably hurting her business, which I think she sold to some other company.
Yeah, she wasn't
right?
running. Yeah, she hasn't been. I don't think she's been actually running Donna Karen for a while, but it's still her name. And, man, that's worth a lot.
Yeah, oh, yeah. She said initially, how do we display ourselves? How do we present ourselves as women? What are we asking? Are we asking for it? By presenting all the sensuality and all the sexuality? It's not Harvey Weinstein. You look at everything all over the world today. How women are dressing and, what they're asking by just presenting themselves the way they do. What are they asking for? Trouble. That's amazing.
Wow.
So now she's saying, I made a horrible mistake. I regret it from the bottom of my heart. This is never who I am as a woman. Well, that's not exactly true, because it was how you are as a woman just last week. And then it affected your business. And so now you don't want it to be who you are.
Right. So she's going to apologize from the bottom of her business. I mean, heart.
Heart. Uh-huh. Yeah.
But she apparently in 2015, she announced that she would be stepping down as head of her company so that she could focus on her lifestyle brand, Urban Zen.
Oh, okay. Well, good. Good luck with that. And so her brand could be affected by this.
Urban Zen and the Donna Karen line. Have a nice day.
Because
very affected.
When you listen to the way she said what she did, was pretty amazing too. Here's a reminder.
I think we have to look at ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the treatment of women all over the world is something that has always had to be identified. Certainly in the country of Haiti, where I work, in Africa, in the developing world. It's been a hard time for women.
Mm-hmm.
To see it here in our own country is very difficult. But I also think, how do we display ourselves?
There you go.
How do we present ourselves as women?
Does that sound like the way she's never acted before as a woman? Because she seemed pretty comfortable with those comments at the time.
Yes, she did.
Of course, she regrets it now. 888-727-BECK. Let's go to Eve in Georgia. Welcome.
Hi, Pat.
Hi.
I was just calling because I had a situation once. I was working in an establishment, and one of my coworkers asked me to go out with him. And I thought, sure, why not? So I went out with him once. He became my boss, and the next thing I know is he's stalking me. I'll come home to my house, and he's sitting outside his truck and watching me come home. And I'd see him as I was coming out of college, sitting in his truck waiting for me.
Oh, that's creepy.
Guy was a very
that's an issue.
large and intimidating person, and I'm barely 5 foot, okay?
Uh-huh.
So I called this guy up and said, I want you to come to my house. So he came to my house and he says, if you do not stop stalking me, I'm going to call the police. Problem solved.
And he did stop?
Why can't women? Yes,
Oh, that's
absolutely
great.
he stopped.
Wow. And did you...
We as women have power.
Yeah, sure. Did you live alone at this time?
No, I was living at my parents' house at this time.
Okay. And did you share this with your dad? Because I would think he would be...
Dad may have said something.
No, I didn't.
Wow.
Why would I need a man to protect me? I'm a woman.
Okay.
Oh.
So you just took care of it yourself with your woman power.
And I apologize for thinking that you needed a man.
Yeah, that's obviously you don't need that.
So
you
wrong.
Don't need that.
So wrong.
Well, nicely handled.
I had the whole police force to take care of the problem if he didn't stop.
Right.
We all have the police.
Yes.
I'm not a lone woman in a society. I have people who can defend me.
Yes.
And all I have to do is ask.
I'll tell you, I'm not going to mess with you.
Okay.
That's for sure. Thanks, Eve. Appreciate it.
Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck.
Pat Gray for Glenn. Glenn Beck program. Check out my show immediately following the Glenn Beck program. Pat Gray Unleashed at noon Eastern, immediately following this program on the Blaze Radio Network. We were talking about Bob Weinstein asking out one of his coworkers, and he asked her out more than once. This is repeatedly over 3 months until she finally got a lawyer and told him to stop or she'd quit or whatever. I mean, just asking a woman out, I don't think that rises to sexual harassment. Maybe it does in this day and age, but it doesn't seem like it should.
I mean, there probably has to be some sort of number set, and I don't know what that is. But, I mean, I'm guessing it's different for each female and male. So at some point, no means this is the last no. I don't want you asking me anymore.
Yeah, but there's a couple of expressions. One was playing hard to get.
Okay, I know that, but that's what I mean. That's what I mean. There's got to be a point. Sure.
There's another thing called persistence, when sometimes persistence pays off. Sometimes they warm up to the idea. Sometimes they feel it's charming that you're so interested. You know, as long as you're not being crude or, nasty in some way, not being mean, not threatening her job, it seems like it's just part of interpersonal relationships between the sexes. Now, this one's a little bit different. The another person who has bitten the dust in this Hollywood
they're starting to fall, man. The walls are coming down.
The head of Amazon, not Jeff Bezos, but the head of Amazon's entertainment division. It was his idea for the entertainment division, and he took it over and ran it from day one. So he made Amazon, the movies, the thing you see online, all of that. He made it what it is.
Roy Price is his name. Now, he's had to resign as well in a sexual harassment issue. He apparently propositioned Isa Hackett, who's a producer on The Man in the High Castle, which is a pretty good show. I've seen that a few times. She has some actual she's got there's some meat to this one. There is. Oh, easy. Stop.
There's no pun intended. She says that he told her, "You will love my," and then he uses a slang word for his unit, man unit.
That part.
"You'll love my man unit." And then
they're in a cab ride over.
And then he just blurted out the type of sexual escapade he'd like to have with her.
Yeah, she's in the conversation at some party with other people all around. He just walks up and says it.
Blurts it out. Now, that's sexual harassment.
Just a tad.
Okay? That's obvious.
Just a tad.
So that one is well-deserved. So the guy now has lost his position at Amazon, and he also lost his fiancée.
Wow.
She just canceled their wedding. These guys are such dirtbags.
That's for sure.
So Amazon is already in the market for a new executive for their entertainment division, and they're only talking about women for the position. That's all they're considering. I think
we should sue them for that.
I think that's going to be some of the fallout from this, is that a lot of companies are going to be hiring women to head up their divisions.
If they're good enough, great.
Yes, right.
I have no problem with females running and being the boss of things.
No, of course not.
But
we're men of the
enough.
21st century, after all.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
But be good enough.
Yes.
Be good enough.
Obviously.
Please.
But I don't think anybody wants to take that chance, so they're just eliminating men. And if it's a woman and she does have, some smarts in that area, they're going to definitely hire a woman.
I wonder if we could sue over that, though.
Probably. Probably. Now, one quirky potential obstacle, they say, in recruiting a new top entertainment executive at Amazon is how cheap they are. Amazon executives fly mostly coach and stay at reasonably priced hotels.
Never mind, you can hire the female.
Listen to this. And company employees don't even get free Amazon Prime membership.
What?
Come on.
Stop it.
That's pretty cheap.
Bezos, what are you doing, man?
That's pretty cheap.
Come on.
How do you think he got to be one of the richest men in the world by not allowing his employees free service?
On.
That's amazing.
Although now he'll say, well, if you made the salary good enough, then you should be able to afford the things you want, no matter what it is, right?
Yes.
So I'd be interested to see what the actual salary is.
And I'm sure they pay above minimum wage.
It's possible that it could be above minimum wage.
As the president
Well, you don't know
of
that
Amazon.
now if they're not giving you Prime membership and making you fly coach.
I know.
Ooh, that's not good.
Brutal.
Yeah.
888-727-BECK.
I mean, flying coach, that
hurts right there.
That hurts.
Yeah.
That's like not having a parking pass or something. That hurts.
888-727-BECK. More of the Glenn Beck program coming up.
Glenn Beck.
This is a national health alert from the 24/7 Diabetic Health Hotline. If you, a family member, or loved one has diabetes, now, regardless of your age, if you have insurance, you may qualify to receive diabetic testing supplies with little to no out-of-pocket cost. If you call right now, you could get a free meter upgrade. In addition, we'll give you a free pedometer as our special gift to you. Call now.
Call the 24/7 Diabetic Health Hotline now at 800-478-9970. 800-478-9970.
This is the Glenn Beck program.
Today, featuring Pat Gray and Jeffy. Glenn's back tomorrow, as is Stu. You can catch my show immediately following this one on the Blaze Radio Network, noon Eastern, 11 Central. 888-727-BECK. We've been talking about the sexual harassment. Bob Weinstein, Harvey's brother, has also been caught up in this now, but from the looks of it, to me, that's just not harassment. To me, when you ask a woman on a date and she says no, and you ask again and she says no, but you don't, she doesn't suffer any ramifications from it. There's no consequences of it. Is it irritating to her? Yeah, probably. But do you bring a guy up on charges for asking you out multiple times? 888-727-BECK. Lon in Michigan. Welcome to the Glenn Beck program.
Yeah, how you guys doing?
Doing good.
I just wanted to point out that you guys made the comment that Amazon was just looking at women for the CEO or for this high-end position. And when I was in school, I worked for a big box store. I won't mention the name, even though they're out of business. And the store manager was a female, and she was about 10, 15 years older than me. And she used to follow me around the store, touch me. Right. She asked me out a bunch of times, cornered me in the warehouse. So anybody that thinks that women in power don't pull the same kind of stuff, they're out of their minds. I've had it happen to me 2 or 3 times, actually.
I hate when that happens. I know. I can't get
well,
away from it.
And that's a double standard, isn't it?
Because yes, it is.
Yes, it is. You're exactly right, Lon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yes, it is.
So what did you do anything about it? Did you talk to anybody, or did you just kind of put up with it?
No, because I'm not that thin-skinned. You know,
right.
She asked me out all the time and stuff like that, and I would just kind of blow her off and that kind of thing without being mean about it, because, I don't want to get fired. But,
right.
Right. But I'd always make excuses and whatnot, and I just kind of blew her off, and I think eventually she found someone else to follow around, but I found a new job, of course. Well, I found a new job. I was in school at the time,
Yeah.
So I went on to my career, but... Yeah, I mean, it was insane. Right. She used to just bother me all the time. But I would have felt self-conscious going up to someone, she's sexually harassing me. That really didn't cross my mind, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
But, it certainly happened, and it's happened to me multiple times in my life.
You must be a pretty good-looking man.
Oh, I'm 6'4", 230.
Uh-huh.
You can say I look like The Rock.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of us. There's not a lot of us like that. Yeah, I think you know that.
You're right. Yeah. Uh-huh. In your mind, I know.
I look a lot like you guys do, actually. I'm sure you guys get harassed all the time.
It just doesn't stop for us. It doesn't stop.
Murder.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Thanks, Lon. Appreciate it. And there's the problem. We just went into that trap where
yes, we did.
Men aren't really taken seriously, as you've got that double standard. And if he had gone to somebody for sexual harassment, would they have even taken it seriously?
Would have laughed him off. No,
right.
They would not have.
Right.
I mean, the police probably would have said, take her up on it.
Yeah. Jennifer in Pennsylvania, you're on the Glenn Beck program.
Maybe not today, though.
Maybe not.
Hi. I just also wanted to point out that by you two agreeing with Jeff Bezos' thing about filling the position with a woman, you're actually perpetuating what the problem is.
Oh, I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm just saying it's going to happen now. I'm not saying it should happen. I just I can understand that that's going to be the priority for a lot of these companies now because they won't want to mess with it. But yeah, I'm not agreeing with it.
Okay, because it's important that voices of sanity still remain out there.
Yes, it is.
The problem is not that all men are like this.
Right. That's right.
You know, and Lon just pointed out it could be women too, and you know, it would be so unfortunate if we now rolled out men as leaders in business because of some scumbag in a different company.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah, it really is. Thanks, Jennifer. Appreciate it. But that's where we are right now. You can kind of see that companies are going to be nervous about this. They won't want to take the chance, especially at the Weinstein Company and at a place like Amazon Entertainment, where they'll think, well, we'll put a woman in it, and then we won't have to worry about that. And that's not necessarily the case.
No, it is not.
Matt in West Virginia, you're on the Glenn Beck program.
Yes, thanks for doing God's work, guys.
You bet.
Yeah, I have a funny story. About 4 years ago, I met a beautiful woman at work, and initially I had some advances, which apparently she didn't like in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And a couple of the guys were like, hey, you got to back off, man. Watch out, HR.
Oh, yeah.
And here 4 months ago, we got married.
Really?
Nice.
So your persistence eventually paid off.
Absolutely, it did.
Yeah. I know that's happened many times. Many times. Did she say why she initially spurned you?
Initially, I said some things that were probably quite inappropriate, and she informed me of those, and that's why I got yelled at by the rest of the guys at work. And I corrected myself and went about it the right way.
Wow. All right. Well,
okay then.
Good for you for at least seeing the error of your ways. And I'm glad it worked out. Thanks, Matt. Tony in North Carolina. You're on the Glenn Beck program. Hi.
How we doing?
Good.
Good. I met my wife when I was 15 years old working at a Burger King. I was wild back then, drove crazy, was loud and obnoxious. She didn't want nothing to do with me. I'm now 35 years old. We've been married for 9 years. We have 3 daughters.
Mm-hmm.
Persistence pays off. That woman is classy. She didn't want to date me back then because she had too much class. My mom, everybody says I married up, and I believe it. This woman is a class act. She doesn't cuss. She doesn't smoke. She doesn't drink. She doesn't do drugs. She raises our kids, because I'm not at home a lot, she raises our kids with the utmost importance in Christianity that I could ever ask for. She's an amazing woman, and I'm glad I was persistent.
That's a great story. Appreciate it. Thanks, Tony. It's always nice when you appreciate your wife, too. You might share some of that with her in a phone call today. Matt in Utah, you're on the Glenn Beck program. Hi.
Hi, Glenn. How you doing?
Hey, it's Pat, but doing good nonetheless.
Oh,
he doesn't really care.
Sorry about that. So,
that's all right.
This is a little bit off topic, but I'm just trying to get the word out on this new bill that Republican Marcus Carbella has introduced to the House.
Okay.
Now, it would make it a felony punishable by up to 5 years in federal prison to own any part or combination of parts that can increase the rate of fire of any weapon. And the problem with that bill is that
just a Utah bill, or is that a U.S. Congress bill?
That's a U.S. Congress.
Yeah, it's a Congress.
Okay.
That's the reaction to the bump stock, right?
Wow.
Exactly. And it's so open-ended that they could basically include anything that they want. They could include bump stocks, binary triggers, adjustable triggers, muzzle brakes, gas blocks, even red dot sights, because all those things can help you to increase your rate of fire.
Well,
so like I said, I'm just trying to get the word out so that people know about this, because it seems like they're trying to pass it under everybody's noses.
Yeah, I've heard almost nothing about it. It's HR 399?
HR 3999, and it was introduced by Republican Marcus Carbella.
Okay. Appreciate the heads up. Thanks a lot, Matt. Interesting development along those lines, too, from the shooting in Las Vegas. Not only are they're obviously going to use this as cannon fodder for passing any kind of gun control legislation, and that's what this bill is all about. Yesterday, something kind of interesting happened. The security guard, who's not a security guard because he's not registered in the state of Nevada as such, and you have to be, Jesus Campos, went missing for like 5 days.
Yeah.
Nobody knew where he was.
He was supposed to have these interviews and then just disappeared before those interviews, and then no one has seen him.
Now, my speculation on that, some people are saying, well, maybe that means he's implicated in the shootings. I think it means maybe he's an illegal alien. And
See, that's not a bad call.
Yeah, and the spotlight is on him now, and he doesn't want to be deported. So,
also that means that, the company, Mandalay Bay, would be on the hook for hiring illegals. That's right.
And they probably know that he's not registered.
Yeah, that's right.
And maybe they do this on a regular basis. Because from what I understand, Mandalay Bay is not exactly an elite hotel.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I've
it's
heard.
right there in the heart of
right
Vegas.
there, clear down at the very end of the strip.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, that's
and
not
apparently
quite the heart.
Most people consider it to be, a little bit run down, kind of like a dump.
What?
That comes from Las Vegas expert Stu Bergier. I never go to Vegas. I've only been there once or twice in my life, maybe 3 times.
That's a surprise.
And never for gambling. But Stu does go there and enjoy it sometimes. And so, he was saying that Mandalay Bay, not exactly a highly sought after hotel destination.
And it's way down, and it's down at the the end of the strip, almost past the end of the strip. Really.
So
is what he was saying.
Do they cut corners and hire illegal aliens for security who aren't registered? Maybe.
I mean, that theory that you have beats my second shooter theory.
Yeah, it kind of does, because if that were the case, he'd probably be out of the country now, which he is not. He turned up yesterday on Ellen. Here's what he had to say.
I'm doing better each day, slowly but surely, just healing physically and mentally. I just want to mention all the people that assisted that night, whether it was Metro, the FBI, the community especially coming together to help everyone in need. Everyone came together to help that night, even in the darkest hour.
So he
shows up on Ellen?
On Ellen. Speaking out on Ellen.
Wow.
I'm kind of surprised.
I am as well.
Because I thought maybe he wouldn't turn up again and, wouldn't want to be subjected. But maybe he showed up on Ellen to kind of inoculate himself.
I think that still holds. You could still be correct.
Yeah.
Because if he's an illegal alien, he shows up on Ellen.
You're probably not going to deport him.
No way.
He also described what he saw that night. Here's Jose Campos.
There was a metal bracket holding the door in place.
And when you saw that, did you think that's weird? Why would somebody put brackets on a door?
Yeah, that's just out of the ordinary. As I was walking down, I heard rapid fire. And at first, I took cover. I felt a burning sensation. I went to go lift my pant leg up, and I saw the blood. That's when I called it in on my radio that shots have been fired.
Wow. Really something.
No kidding.
And so Ellen got a pretty good get on that.
No kidding.
Having him turn up. And I guess the full interview, I think, is today. So be interesting to see what else he has to say.
Yeah.
And if she asks him about the fact that he's not registered as a security guard in Nevada, be interesting to see if they look into that as well. 888-727-BECK.
Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck.
Pat Gray and Jeffy for Glenn. He's back tomorrow. 888-727-BECK. We've been talking about Bob Weinstein a little bit today, the brother of Harvey. Less of a dirtbag, according to most people I've seen comment on him. Although he's also being accused of sexual harassment by a producer of the show The Mist. And it doesn't, to me, this does not rise to the level of sexual harassment. She said he repeatedly made romantic overtures to her.
That bastard.
And asked him to join him.
Oh, my God.
Asked her to join him for dinner.
Oh, man. That is, if that's not Harvey Weinstein too.
Unless he asked if she'd, do dinner naked with him. That doesn't seem like sexual harassment to me.
No. I mean, but he's, look, absolutely not is that sexual harassment asking someone out for dinner. And even asking someone out for dinner multiple times.
Which he did.
It does not rise in my eyes to sexual harassment.
Mine either.
One of his biggest problems, right, is that he's in the fallout, of the shrapnel of brother.
Right.
I mean, his brother is... Woof.
And the company can't take any chances, so it wouldn't surprise me to see him gone as well from the company.
They should just shutter the place.
Let's go to Bonnie in Louisiana. Bonnie, hi. You're on the Glenn Beck program.
Hi, Glenn. My husband. The first time I met my husband, his line was, "How'd you like to marry a man who owns his own business?" I looked at him and told him I was the void in his life that would never be filled. He asked me out several times, and eventually he asked me to his birthday party, and I said yes, and I took a date, someone I knew he didn't like. When I eventually did go out with him, it was because I wanted to. At any point in time, I could have made the point, "I do not want to go without you, please stop." It was my choice to eventually go out with him because I finally got to know him in a public setting.
So you secretly liked that he was persistent with you?
Well, no, the first time he did it, I thought that was the worst line I ever had.
Okay.
But I was in public settings with him, and I got to know him a little bit before. So,
and see, that's always the hope of the guy who is pursuing the girl, right? It's the hope that, okay, she's going to like me eventually. I'm going to show her how charming I am.
Right.
To call that, appreciate the call, Bonnie, to call that sexual harassment it's madness, is what it is. It's madness. 888-727-BECK.
Glenn Beck. Love. Courage. Truth. Glenn Beck.
Pat Gray for Glenn on the Glenn Beck program. Also, Jeffy along for the ride today. 888-727-BECK. The Las Vegas security guard has turned up. You'll see him today. The full interview on Ellen.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, that really surprises me. She usually, obviously she does the feel-good stories and she gets the big celebrities and that kind of thing. So she does have some stories that aren't just the celebrity hawking their new movies interviews. But to get the breaking news like that's pretty big.
It is big. I mean, who wouldn't want to talk to this guy?
Right. And you'd think, I mean, if I'm, I don't know, someone who appears to be not doing well in my time slot, someone like, I don't know, Megyn Kelly, would want that interview.
No question.
Desperately.
Oh, yeah.
And it goes to Ellen.
Yeah. She tweeted a photo of Campos holding a cane on the set, along with maintenance engineer Stephen Schuck, who was also shot by the gunman. So we'll have that first interview today with him, and hopefully we'll get some answers. Although I don't know if he had very many. He was the first person shot, and then it turned out that he's not registered in Nevada as a security guard.
As a security guard, right.
And you're supposed to be. In fact, by law, you're required to. But did Mandalay Bay just not enforce that? So they could pay their security guards less? I don't know.
Or maybe the press is calling him a security guard, and that's not really what he was.
Yeah, right.
Right? I mean,
although they keep referring to him as
I know it. I know.
And is he an illegal alien? And that's why he has shunned the spotlight so far. I don't know.
I mean, it's tough not to feed into some of these conspiracies when we keep not getting the truth.
Yeah.
And they keep shuffling it around.
We haven't been able to wrap our heads around this because there's been no motive talked about. I mean, they've talked about several, but we don't know what it was. We don't know what the motive is for this. And you want to be able to kind of put it into a category, and we haven't been able to. And he is one of the keys. And I certainly hope she asks him about not being registered in Nevada and find out about his status, because then that puts that to rest, and we know why he avoided everybody. Because there are some, Jeff Fisher, who have been speculating that he's the second shooter.
Second shooter.
No.
I mean, it's clear.
No,
it's clear, Pat. It's right there.
Clear he's not.
Right there in front of you.
I'll give you that. It's clear he is not a second shooter. And the fact is, there was no second shooter. But there are people,
we know that.
There are people who swear by that and still insist to this day that there were more shooters than one. Also, John McCain was interviewed by Peter Doocy from Fox News yesterday. Little testy, a little even. I mean, I think McCain is almost always testy, but a little more than normal, I think.
Your relationship with the president raised to the point that you are not going to support anything that he comes to you and asks.
Why would you?
So he asks John McCain, has your relationship with the president deteriorated to the point where you're just not going to support anything he wants to do?
Say something that stupid. Why would you ask something that dumb? Huh? My job as a United States Senator is a senator from Arizona, which I was just reelected to. You mean that I'm somehow going to behave in a way that I'm going to block everything because of some personal disagreement? That's a dumb question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Your Majesty, that it doesn't rise to your incredible standards. That's. I thought the Senate was all about decorum and politeness and niceties. That certainly is none of those things.
No, it is not. He is Mr. Niceties and good little
good relations,
handshakes with everybody. I get along with everybody.
Yeah, except when somebody asks him a reasonably difficult question, like, "Why do you say no to absolutely everything the president wants to do?" 888-727 Beck. Also, this is pretty interesting. James O'Keefe has another undercover video out. He was talking with one of the senior editors of the New York Times, and she was quite revealing. First of all, she says this is all off the record, and then listen to what she admits to.
Speaking off the record, it's hard to portray, for instance, the president in a unbiased light when the words that are coming out of his mouth are apologetic toward white supremacists.
First of all, when did he apologize for white supremacy? He's never done that. He may not have been as clear in the statement as you wanted him to be about white supremacists, but what he was trying to say at that time was that, look, there's Antifa there too, and they're not exactly a peaceful group.
I feel like Trump is just a sort of an idiot in a lot of ways, like just an oblivious idiot. Who's horrible. I think maybe.
Now she's going off on Mike Pence, who's even worse than Trump.
Possibly worse than Trump. He's extremely religious.
Extremely religious.
Extremely religious. I think one of the things that maybe journalists were thinking about is like, oh, if we write about him, about how insanely crazy he is and ludicrous his policies are, then maybe people will read it and be like, oh wow, like we should vote for him.
So that she was saying that reporters are hoping that if they talk about how insanely crazy Donald Trump and Mike Pence are, people would not vote for them. They were actually trying to sway the election on behalf, obviously, of Hillary Clinton. Pretty amazing admission.
It sure is. I mean, we saw it and tried to explain some of it, but everybody blew it off like, no, just look.
Yeah.
It was right there.
And the religious thing, it sounds like she's so disgusted that Mike Pence is a religious guy. Oh, like that's the craziest thing you can be as a religious person in our society.
So sick of religious people. Sick of them.
Well, obviously the New York Times is too.
Absolutely. And Pence is one of those guys, right? Remember when he was getting so beat up over the deal that he wouldn't go out to dinner with anyone with a female other than his wife by themselves?
Yes.
And, well, it looks like a pretty good idea these days, doesn't
yeah,
it?
It sure does. It sure does. But he's excoriated by this New York Times editor because he's a guy with principles and morals and religiosity. How dare he, in this day and age, to carry around that kind of superstition? You can't have him in office. Come on. Is he a member of some cult or something? You can't have him in a high office.
The religious former talk show host, Mike Pence.
You could just tell how the New York Times has enmity for for religion, for conservative values, for anything not big government and liberal. Pretty amazing. Interesting audio there. 888-727 Beck. Travis in Nevada. You're on the Glenn Beck program. Hi.
Hi, I live in Las Vegas, and just this information came out yesterday. I heard about it. There was a report that was done by Laura Loomer that I don't know if you've heard about it yet. But as far as Campos, you are getting closer and closer at being on as the illegal status. What came out, it apparently looks like two people share the same Social Security that Campos has, and that's why. Initially, the possibility, I think MGM is this is all speculative, but MGM is holding out that information, trying to gear up their lawyers, because the lawsuits are going to start coming exponentially once you include all properties, casinos, and what have you, because it stemmed way beyond that as far as the under-security agents and what have you. Not to mention, MGM literally is the first unionized security force, and they're going to go beyond that. So Campos has a lot of protection, so they've been gearing up for that. So you watch, the lawsuits are going to start flailing, and they're going to go way beyond the shooting itself as far as the care and well-being of the patrons.
So the report that you saw, Travis, did it specifically state that he is an illegal alien?
No, I did not specifically see it. It was talked about on a radio show. It was done by Laura Loomer, and it did not state illegal status. It merely stated the Social Security number he had was shared by another.
Right.
Yes, exactly. So I'm not stating it's illegal, but I'm saying your idea is going to come to fruition. I guarantee it.
Sounds like it.
I mean, obviously, the Las Vegas people are listening to Pat Gray in the afternoons on the Blaze Radio Network.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, clearly. Clear. Gary in Pennsylvania. Hi, you're on the Glenn Beck program.
Hey guys, I don't mean to feed into the conspiracy theories, but one of the things I think's been skipped on the pictures that have been released from the hotel room in Las Vegas is so far I've been able to recognize 4 weapons completely, top to bottom. 3 of the 4 weapons don't appear to have a bump stock on them. And the one that does have a bump stock is not the type of weapon that would shoot from 400 yards and have any accuracy. There are 3 AR-type weapons on bipods with scopes, and if you look at the pictures that have been released, they are not equipped with bump stocks.
And yet they're going to go after him anyway. Because
and honestly, the one AR that's laying on its side near his body, you can actually see a selector switch, I believe, top left of trigger.
Wow.
I'm not trying to fuel the flames, and I'm not saying bump stocks be illegal or illegal, but all I've heard since the shooting is bump stocks, and I'm looking at 3 guns that would be logical weapons to shoot from that point. I don't mean to be morbid. None of them have bump stocks on.
Right, and the audio, I got to, every time I listen to the audio, and I've seen other people watch their reaction when they listen to the audio of, man, that's an automatic, that's not a bump stock.
It's not, and they're very cumbersome. They're not accurate. The whole thing just stinks to me, and I'm not a conspiracy guy by any means. We've got no information. There's been no list of what weapons there, what did have bump stocks, why would you show up with multiple calibers. There's so many things that don't make any sense about any of that.
So what do you think is, do you have a theory as to what's going on?
I don't have a theory other than I think they're automatic weapons. I think that's not going to be. I think that's not going to come out until after some of these bills go through.
And they don't want to because automatic weapons are already banned.
They're illegal.
Yeah, they're already illegal.
That's the point that needs to be made. They're already illegal. The guy broke how many laws before he pulled the first trigger? Before the law is not the issue; it's the person.
Yeah, right. Appreciate it. Thanks, Gary. And by the way, he broke another law, which is. Don't kill anybody. Surprisingly, there's a law against that.
Huh.
Yeah.
We should do something. There should be a law.
There should. And maybe we make it mega illegal to kill somebody, and maybe that'll make a difference. I don't know. 888-727-BECK.
Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck.
Pat Gray and Jeffy for Glenn. He's back tomorrow. So they had the NFL meeting yesterday between the owners and the players, and they didn't even talk about the protests. I thought that was sort of the point, but I guess not.
No, I think they broke into they had a couple of subcommittees that were going to start talking about it, but the main owners meeting had been set, and I don't think that agenda had the anthem on it. So you're getting, I mean, they had said before that if anything gets done, it's not going to be much.
Well, good luck with that, because you're going to continue to lose your fan base. You're going to continue to anger people.
What they don't understand about that, I really don't. It's a hard. I mean, Roger Goodell, this guy is.
It's not that tough.
It isn't.
It's really not. That
really
tough.
isn't. I don't understand what they can see that just says, "Hey, go ahead. Yeah, whatever. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, do what you want," and it's their business. You know, they need their fan base. They need their customers.
We hear from players already saying, I'll quit if I can't.
Yeah, go ahead.
Bye.
Go ahead.
Take care.
888-727-BECK. Also, the sexual harassment thing continues to burn across Hollywood. Amazon's head of their entertainment department, the guy who actually had the idea to do Amazon Entertainment, the TVs, the movies, and he has run it ever since day one. Roy Price was forced out of Amazon because of sexual harassment. He apparently propositioned a female producer, Isa Hackett, from, I guess she's on The Mist. She was producing that show. And here's how stupid, she's a lesbian. She's married to a woman, and he's trying to.
And that's what one of the things that she said was that, you know, hey, look, I'm married and I have children.
Yeah, and that still didn't.
Well, he wasn't going to be deterred.
No, he wasn't
not
going to be
deterred.
So silly. And Bob Weinstein, Harvey's brother, is enmeshed in this scandal now too, because an executive producer of a show. This one was the Spike TV series Mist. Amanda Siegel said that he asked her out to dinner multiple times. Oh my gosh.
I mean,
if you have young children, you know, remove them from the room now or cover their ears when I say again, he actually asked her to dinner. More than once.
Thank you.
More than once.
Multiple times.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you look the other way at one,
but not twice.
Maybe you might look the other way at two. And after that,
she says no should be enough. Well, there's probably hundreds or thousands of marriages that if the guy stopped at the first no, they wouldn't have ever gotten together.
We heard 2 or 3 off the cuff this morning on this broadcast.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. She said, after no, anybody who has asked you out should just move on. Bob kept referring to me that he wanted to have a friendship. Well, he didn't want a friendship. He wanted to have more than that. My hope is that no is enough from now on. So every person who ever hears the word no, never go back to that well ever again. Now, of course, you should never get, intimidating. You should never be belligerent. You should never be threatening. But a guy can't ask a woman out more than once if she says no?
Apparently not.
Where is that rule? Because I guess it's a new one, and it'll be interesting to see if we live by that one.
You know what? As a matter of fact, I don't want a man asking a woman out at all. Not once.
Well, women don't need men.
Not once.
They don't need them. We've heard that before,
if a woman wants to ask a man out, let her try.
Maybe that's the way it should be.
Maybe.
John in Louisiana. You're on the Glenn Beck program. Hi.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Hey.
I just want to debunk the whole Campos being an illegal immigrant or illegal alien or whatever they call them now.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of the Ellen Show, he'd have gone on The View with guest stars of Hillary Clinton and John McCain.
Yeah, that might be true. Yeah, that might be true. Thanks, John. Jay in South Carolina. Hi, you're on the Glenn Beck program.
Yeah. How you fellas doing today?
Good.
I just had a little take on this. I've been not hearing anything about it, but I question Pollock's motives and the lack of talk about that. And one thing I don't hear anything about is what party he was affiliated to, and if this was kind of a similar shooting to what happened at the baseball field in outside of Washington.
Yeah, there's been some speculation about that. Although there's His girlfriend, or whatever she was to him, says he had no party affiliation. He wasn't really political. Yeah. I don't know if we believe that from her, but they can't seem to find, appreciate the call, Jay, they can't seem to find any evidence that he was a radical left or right-wing guy. So no matter what lead they've chased down, they've all kind of gone nowhere as far as finding a motive.
And again, it goes back to we want some kind of closure.
Yeah, we do.
We desperately need some kind of closure for this horrific act, and right now we don't have it.
Just don't have it, and that continues to drive us crazy.
Sure does.
Dave in Oklahoma, you're on the Glenn Beck program. Hi.
Good to hear from you, or good to talk to you guys this morning. Hey, real quick on the Vegas deal, just want to clear up a couple of points here. There's a lot of misinformation on this firearm stuff that's coming out by so-called experts. I call them armchair experts. First off, full auto weapons are not illegal for civilians to own. They're just highly restricted and very expensive. There was a ban on them several years ago. I want to say it was back in the 80s. Yeah. No more civilian production. But if there was one out there that's transferable, which means it can go from one civilian to another, then you just do the paperwork. You pay a $200 tax stamp. It takes a background check, and you can legally own them. So first off, full auto weapons are legal to own by private individuals.
Well, they are, but it's unusual. Hang on a second, because I want to give you your full say, and we're up against a hard break here. We'll get back into that coming up on the Glenn Beck program.
Glenn Beck.
If your credit card bills have gotten out of hand, call Consolidated Credit now. They can consolidate your debts, reduce your interest rates, and get you out of debt fast. Call Consolidated Credit now. 800-440-1636. 800-440-1636. That's 800-440-1636. Consolidated Credit Counseling Services Incorporated. 5701 West Sunrise Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. 33313. Not a loan company. Licensed by the New York Department of Financial Services and by the Vermont Department of Financial Regulation. Maryland DM 19. Oregon DM 80031. Licensed by Virginia State Corporation Commission DC 32.
You're listening to the Glenn Beck program.
Pat Gray for Glenn, along with Jeffy. Glenn's back tomorrow, along with Stu. And you can catch my show immediately following this one today and all week, every week, on the Blaze Radio Network. 888-727-BECK. We were talking about the situation in Vegas has come up again because the security guard has turned up, and he'll be interviewed by Ellen on her show today. So that's fascinating.
It sure is.
She got a big interview there because everybody wants to talk to this guy and maybe have some things cleared up. We'll find out if he clears anything up. But also, Dave in Oklahoma was clearing up some things about bump stock and all of that. Now, as we've said multiple times, automatic weapons, while they're not flat out banned, there is essentially a ban on them. You can't own one that was manufactured after 1986. You can own one prior to that. You have to register them. It's a pain. They've made it cost prohibitive for a lot of people to own them. It's difficult to own them. And so when you say they've been banned, they haven't, technically been banned, but for all intents and purposes, most people can't get them or don't have them. Anyway, Dave, go ahead and clear up whatever else you feel like there's a mistake on.
Auto owners out there, if you're not into it, you probably don't know anything about it, and that's understandable. But they have big machine gun shoots all the time, and people bring their full registered legal full auto guns. So it has a following. But anyway, be that as it may, to say they're illegal is incorrect. You can still own them. If you got the money, you can find them for sale. People will sell them legally through dealers. You just got to do the paperwork. But if you got the money, then you can get one. But
oftentimes, however, I will say, if somebody owns them or has them, they are oftentimes illegal.
Actually,
and uses them improperly, like this guy did. They're usually illegal.
You'd be hard pressed to find full auto guns used in crimes recently. Illegal full auto guns are just not out there floating around like people think.
Yeah.
So anyway, and that's 30 years of law enforcement. Anyway, let me just say this about that. And a lot of people are saying he couldn't do this, he couldn't do that with this gun. Bump stocks are highly inaccurate. I just challenge you, go ahead and YouTube some bump stock, people firing bump stocks. You'll see that with practice, people can are really, I've been amazed at what shooters can do with their firearms, things that you would have thought were impossible. Speed of fire without even a bump stock. There's people out there that can fire a semi-auto almost as fast as a full auto just by trigger control. So just be careful about listening to these armchair experts saying, well, there's no way he could have done that. Those things are inaccurate. It's good for people to look up and find these things out for themselves so that they're not feeding into somebody else's falsehoods. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
When it comes to firearms, there's a lot of detail out there. The devil's in the details, and you guys are really good about saying, question everything and, accept nothing at face value. So that's kind of what I'm just hearing a lot of bunk about this firearm stuff. And I know from personal experience, it's just that. It's armchair experts saying you can't do this and you can't do that. When I've seen shooters that, it's like magic what they're doing. They're so good at what they're, how they shoot. So, and there's some really top-notch shooters out there that can show people what training and experience will do. So that's all I'm trying to do is kind of clear up some of those. People are saying with all sorts of certainty, he couldn't have done this, he couldn't have done that. And I'm saying, if the guy practiced and was dedicated and did some really good research and training, it's the sky's the limit on what he could have done even with a standard semi-automatic.
And he was a wealthy guy, so he had the means to do that kind of stuff if he wanted to.
Yeah. One of your guests also said we haven't got a list of firearms. That's going to be pretty important. What kind of firearms he had, and what kind of modifications, if any, were done to him, legal or otherwise. And that information has not been forthcoming, which makes people speculate why. Why isn't it forthcoming? Normally they've got it. They've got a full inventory, I bet, of what they were.
Have to by now, right?
Yeah, you would think so. But, the less information, more people are going to try to fill the gaps in with, theory this and theory that. So
it almost feels, Dave, it almost feels like they want conspiracy theories to arise out of this because they've kept so much information from the public. Like, for instance, the firearms he owned. I mean, there's a lot of stuff they know that they're not telling us. Are you in law enforcement, or you have a background in law enforcement?
30 years, retired from a major metropolitan police department.
The other thing people are saying, because some of the rapid fire sounded near and some of it sounded far. And I've heard that explained as it was just the echo. But people have assumed that was a second shooter. There was also a flash of light or something coming off of one of the windows, and they've said that wasn't gunfire either. Have you seen anything on those things?
I have. I've watched some of these videos on there, the taxi cab video, and there's one that a guy had done that did a real good job with listening to some of the echoes, or some of the gunfire and the different sounds. Mm-hmm. It's really, I'm no expert, so that's what I'll say to begin with. It's kind of early on to tell whether or not there were, whether it was echoes or whether there was a second shooter or a different gun. So what I'm saying on a lot of this is that this is a very intensive investigation, and that they're going to have a lot of facts they have to go over, and they're not going to come forward they shouldn't come forward with a lot of speculation to begin with. And so I'm just trying to give law enforcement the time to do this. Can you imagine what the crime scene looks like?
Oh, yeah.
Out there?
And I'm sure that the sheriff, and I'm sure the sheriff feels like it's not his job to fill in the holes of the mysteries right now.
Probably.
So, and anytime there's a shooting, what they try to do is account for every round fired. That's huge in this case.
Yeah.
And I don't know that they can do that in this. It's like a battle zone. But when I was on the department, any shooting that, whether it was officer involved or otherwise, we tried to count for every single round fired and the position of the casings and everything else. And so this is just a huge crime scene. And then you've got people that have already destroyed evidence or, inadvertently probably. But so
on TV, they usually get that done in an hour, maybe two.
Yeah, you got about 60 minutes. Yeah, exactly. And they solve all this stuff. The other thing is, I will tell you from a personal perspective, I think the FBI is a tremendous organization, but my experience is they don't share information.
Yeah.
So it's very hard for local law enforcement to get anything from the FBI.
Yeah.
They do a tremendous job. They have probably the best forensic units out there, but they just don't share with local law enforcement. And that's been their forte since forever. I've worked with them. I've worked with them closely on a couple of cases, and great investigators, great street level agents out there. But their training is they just don't share with local authorities.
Right.
So that's just a fact of it. But anyway, all I want to do is clear up some of those things about the firearms deal. And when somebody calls in and says, well, this and that and the other thing, say, well, really, why is that? Is that true? I mean, I would question a little bit on that. And I just hate hearing the bunk out there because there's so much falsehood, and people think that semi-automatic means full auto, and that you can just buy them across the internet without a background check, a 4473 or a mixed check, and so. You know what I mean?
And that's what we appreciate the call. Thanks, Dave. That's what we hear perpetuated by the Democrats all the time. All the time. They make it sound as though there are no background checks when there are in almost every case. They make it sound like an AR-15 is an automatic weapon. It is not.
Everyone has purchased a weapon through a loophole.
Yeah, exactly. Amber in Nevada, welcome to the Glenn Beck program. Hi.
Thank you so much for having me this morning.
Sure.
I've been listening to these stories about people going back, their 20 years and being sexually harassed and asked out on dates. Come on, girls. We all broke ceilings back in the day. I was actually a heavy equipment operator for 15 years. And back then, I was 26, a little California beach bunny girl out there working with the men. And I did have a job I went out onto. And these two men turned the hose on me in a water truck and did the wet T-shirt thing.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't let that ruin my career. What I did, though, is I left with the water truck and left them without a job because I went straight to the owner's home, told them what happened, and they fired him, and I went back to work. But you know what? I don't have dreams about that today.
Right.
It's over. Let's go. These snowflakes are ridiculous.
They are. Yeah, they are. Appreciate it. Thanks, Amber. Wow, if somebody did that today, I think they'd face a firing squad. You imagine turning a hose on a woman on a construction site?
Yes.
I'm sure you can. Yes.
You weren't asking me to answer?
No, I didn't want you to actually imagine it.
You'd be gone, right?
Oh
my
yeah.
gosh.
Oh yeah.
You'd be
in front of a firing squad.
Absolutely, no question.
This is kind of interesting too. We haven't mentioned this today, but the travel ban again. It just keeps coming and going, and now it's okay. Now it's not okay. Then it is okay. Then it's not okay. Another judge, the Hawaiian judge again.
Yeah, he's done the second and this one, right?
Yeah,
number 2, number 3.
He blocked the travel ban again, and Senator Elizabeth Warren took to social media to say Donald Trump just can't take a hint. His illegal Muslim ban is now 0 for 3. First of all, it's not a Muslim ban. It's a country ban. He doesn't, as far as I know, the ban doesn't say anything about religion. Zero.
No, it doesn't.
It says absolutely nothing about religion. But she's, of course, ridiculous. And she's been a vocal vitriolic critic of Trump the whole time. And she's probably trying to set up a run for president in 2020. She says it's long past time for President Trump to fight for all Americans, not betray our values and undermine our safety with a Muslim ban. Good golly. Wow. Yeah, just let everybody come in. Don't even ask who you are, where you're coming from, what you want to do when you get here, how long you're going to stay. Let's just not worry about any of it. Just let everybody come. Stay as long as they want, do whatever they want, don't even take down a name. Let's see how that works out. Just open up the border and let everybody flow in.
Doesn't matter.
I'm sure nothing bad will ever happen. He's trying to restrict travel from places like Iran, Libya, Syria, Yemen, Somalia, Chad, and North Korea. I wonder why. Could it be that there might be terrorists who mean us harm coming from those places? Of course.
Yes.
But this judge said the ban plainly discriminates based on nationality and claimed it had internal incoherencies that markedly undermine its stated national security rationale. Wow. This keeps happening.
It's amazing to me that it's become such a struggle.
Yeah.
And especially since the original one was made because they needed to work on getting it right. Correct? If I remember right, and I don't have everything in front of me, but they were doing the ban because they needed to get the process of immigration right.
Mm-hmm.
And so we needed to get this ban so that we could have the time to get all the other immigration whatever it takes to get into the country in line and take a look at everything that it takes and get rid of what doesn't work and keep what does. So I think there's been time to do that.
It's also fascinating to me that it's wrong for us to try to get any information. We shouldn't vet these people coming from these countries at all. No information from foreigners. But we need all information from citizens of the United States if they plan to buy a weapon. We can't trust any of our citizens, but we trust everybody who comes here from Libya.
Sure do.
Okay, that makes perfect sense.
Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck.
Pat Gray for Glenn on the Glenn Beck program. Jeffy's here as well. Glenn's back tomorrow. 888-727-BECK. Okay, Jay in Nevada is taking exception with something that was said on this show. Hey, Jay, welcome.
Yeah, hey, thanks a lot. You and Jeffy were being kind of hard. I actually work at Mandalay Bay. There.
Okay.
I was actually in the festival when it happened.
Wow.
You guys characterize our property as anything other than spectacular and beautiful. I take high of you.
So the Mandalay Bay is spectacular and beautiful, you're alleging.
Just because it's on the south side of the strip doesn't mean that it's anything less.
Right.
No,
right
that's
there
right.
in the heart of
right
there in the heart
right
of
in the
Las
action.
Vegas.
Right. Well, at the edge of the action, but still.
Well, outside of the action.
We share the same. 4 acres as the Four Seasons and Delano, which is a 4-star property.
Oh,
I mean, I saw heroic things take place that evening, and our, illegal aliens or not, I don't agree with the politics of the upper echelon of our company, but to say that we're anything less than an amazing place is very offensive to me.
Well, thanks for calling us out on that, Jay.
I appreciate it, Jay.
I bow to your superior knowledge because I've actually never been there. I was taking the word of Stu Bergier, who's been there.
Yeah, we could blame him.
Blame him. He's the one that badmouthed. He said it was a dump. Well,
but
not a dump.
But you did too. One of our that's right.
Our camera guy said it was
that's right.
Yeah, not spectacular, but Jay disagrees. So good for him. That's a good employee.
More
Sticking
than
up
one
for the
employee
place,
here at the Blaze
employer.
where it's badmouth and Mandalay.
Dave in Texas. Welcome to the Glenn Beck program. Hi.
Good morning, sir.
Hey.
Hey, got a couple of things real quick. I'm kind of old school.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'm still kind of waiting on stuff from Fast and Furious.
Wow. You're going to have a long wait, I think. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I just keep on getting this picture in my head of the Oval Office, and a guy runs in, and the president looks up and says, "What, Bob?" And the guy says, "Hey, I got a great idea. We want to get rid of weapons, right?" Yeah. Okay, here's what we do. We give a whole bunch of them to the bad guys.
And they did. Everybody thought, hey, what a great idea. Yeah, really a bad moment in American history, frankly. All right, Glenn's back tomorrow. You can join me on Pat Gray Unleashed immediately following this show on the Blaze Radio Network.
Glenn Beck.